one of the most useful things that I learned over over the years, actually, from a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He talks about how we experience things, how we remember things, and there's a difference. There's two selves: the experiencing self and the remembering self. And the experiencing self is how you feel in the moment. The remembering self is how you reflect on that experience. There's a really nice example in the book where one of his students for Professor Kahneman, talked about listening to a classical CD and having an entirely blissful hour of music, and then right at the end the CD started skipping and glitching out, and the student said that this ruined the whole experience for him. And Kahneman responded, how can it ruin the whole experience? Because you've had pretty much the whole experience and it's been entirely good. So what actually happened is that it ruined the memory of the experience. And unfortunately, once the experience is over, the memory of that experience is all that we have. And this led him to come up with a sort of psychological principle called the peak end rule. And this is basically that when we reflect on an experience, our minds jump to or are biased towards how we felt at the peak and how we felt at the end. Now, if you think about, if you've ever put together a set, whether you're a DJ or a live or doing live stuff, you tend to start at the beginning, right? And then you work through and you get your intro just perfect so that you're gonna, entice people into the rest of the set, and then you move on chronologically through the set, and then 1 week before you do a little run through and you realize you've only got half an hour, and then you've got 5 days left before you have to go and perform an hour set. So you start rushing and you start making casual decisions. You're basically just going full blast until you get the full hour. And by the time you're in the last track, you maybe give it a few hours. And I say this is what I used to do. And I changed completely the way that I approach writing a set because of this peak end rule. Because what would happen would be that I would probably rush through the first half of the set anyway and have a good time, and then be like, oh God, I've got all of these kind of half-finished ideas for the rest of the set that I'm also going to have to stretch out because I've just kind of planned my time completely wrong. So what I do these days, if I'm making a new set or planning a set, whether it's a live or a DJ set, is to start at the end. So make your last track the one that you spend the most time on. Because if you are also running short, you can, if you have a fully developed track that is sort of, your favorite sort of work, then it's easier to stretch that and to kind of fill the time that you have to fill. So yeah, start with the end, and you don't necessarily have to work backwards, but consider the peak. So if you say are an artist that has songs that people know, this might be an appropriate peak, and you might want to have a peak somewhere in the second half of the set. The peak could also be the very end, but it would be nice that you can have a few sort of big moments, and then you have a few landmarks in your set as you're planning it, that can give you some orientation. So what do I want to do between the peak that I've decided and the end that I've decided? The beginning is important. It's the first impression. It's the thing that gives people the feeling that they want to stay around for the rest of the set. So it is worth considering what you want your first impression to be. So this is how I approach the kind of set planning is first the end, and then figure out what I want to play as a kind of a peak moment, and how I want to introduce myself, what first impression I want to give.